I can't promise that.
You must promise that. Welcome in, everyone. Welcome in. We're here. Maybe we are in now. I'm in the home studio and you're in a remote location. First of all, long time no see. How are we doing?
I know, Amani. We haven't had a show together since August, since the second week in August, because I was out and you did the show, and then we didn't have the show for a couple weeks. So
Yeah. So we took a
I did get to see you in person in
we
Las
did.
Vegas though
Yes.
last week.
Pancakes.
Yes,
Pancakes.
for pancakes, for Amani pancakes. It was
Yes.
good.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm
We
in a
did.
remote location. So our home, as you know, is being renovated, and now our renovation rental has a little work being done today. Some
Oh.
pop up, unexpected, get a hotel at the last minute kind of work being
Wow.
done.
Okay.
But I'm
Wow.
here. I'm here.
You're
We made it.
here.
I just checked in like 15 minutes ago. We
You
made it
made
just in
it.
time. Yeah, yeah.
So, what's been the highlight for you since we last talked? And since
Oh,
we last talked on the show, not because I saw you kind of a week ago.
yeah. Well, I think two things for sure. One was the HPN partner meeting. It was, HPN's been in business for 23 years. So I've been going to that meeting for 23 years. And that thing started as just a dinky little reception in a hotel foyer. And now, like, we booked out Allegiant Stadium for a 600 person dodgeball
Wow.
tournament. And it was phenomenal. I'm a fan of sweat working, but not everybody wants to play dodgeball. In fact, I didn't intentionally play this year, even though I normally do. I just wanted to be a little kinder, gentler to my body this year. So I watched, assuming that I wouldn't have anything else to do. But what HPN meeting services team, what they expertly did was they had these little vignettes and activations for people. So they had 6 courts going at one time. So you could watch the different things. If you didn't want to watch, you could go. They had tours of the Raiderettes locker room and the
Mhm.
regular locker room. And then they had 3 little areas, one where you could throw the ball in the hole, and the other one where you could just like run a route, and the other one you kick it. But they had 3 Raiders routes up on an easel so you could actually like do one of the routes. So it was, and then there was food and drink, and they had our names scrolling on the Jumbotron. They did a really, really, really good job. That wasn't the only event of the week, but I would say it was probably the most epic event and the most intricate event of the week. So yeah, that was one of my highlights.
Okay, I like it.
Yeah.
All right.
Have you been to Allegiant Stadium yet?
I have been for an event. I haven't been for a game yet, so hopefully I can
Okay.
add that to my list. But I've been for events. So I've seen the locker room. I've seen
Yeah.
behind the scenes, all the stadium stuff. So it's a beautiful stadium.
Beautiful stadium. And what did you think logistically? Because, events at stadiums can be tricky, like getting in and out. I found their flow to be very easy. I
Mhm.
was expecting something worse. It was very easy. How did you feel about like
Yeah.
this the logistics in general?
Very easy with the loading dock, easy access for people to walk over from the strip. Just very easy. They built it very smartly, so they did well.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree. I agree.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, what about you, Amani? What's been happening literally in the last 3.5 weeks since we haven't
Yeah.
talked to each other on the show?
I would say the highlight, there's two highlights maybe because I spoke at NPI Thought Leaders Conference
Oh,
in
that's
Dallas. That
How
was
did
very
that
good. That
go?
went very well. That was good. I shared the stage with some of our previous guests like Leanne Calderwood and Courtney Stanley.
Hmm.
So I was there with them. That was good. And then I had a
Fun.
reunion, like a 25-year reunion because I used to work in Miami, Biscayne Bay Marriott, and so we all had a reunion. That was fun. That was a lot of fun. It was cool. So yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Those are
the
my highlights.
the pictures looked really, really good. Oh, that was my other highlight. I turned 50, had my
Yeah,
50th birthday, and it was joy. It was pure
yeah.
and utter. I set out with the intention to wake up feeling joyful and comfortable on August 9th. And I got to tell you, I had 3 little celebrations, one in San Diego, two in Ohio, and it was pure, pure joy. So much so that I put so much joy out there that it boomeranged back to me because my family created a flash mob, a
I saw. Yeah,
surprise
that was so cool.
birthday flash mob,
Yeah,
which was probably one of the greatest days of my whole life. It was
I love
spectacular.
it.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, who do we have the pleasure of having on our show today?
We have a brand master. We
Okay.
have Robyn Young. I think we should just bring her straight up because
Okay, we'll bring her on. So
bring her
let's see
straight
here.
up.
So Robyn's on screen now. Round of applause. Welcome to the show, Robyn Young.
Yeah. Thanks for having me, you guys. A brand master.
You are a brand master. Yes, we're going to get into it today.
We are. But maybe since that's the way we introduced you, if you were going to describe yourself to us and our listeners and viewers in 30 seconds or less, how would you define who is Robyn Young?
Yeah, the elevator pitch. Well, I've gone by many titles. Reinvention is like my real brand. I help founders to reinvent either existing or come up with new ideas. A lot of times from existing ideas, but I've had quite the past, and media and storytelling and creative, and built my company Young & Co. to help support founders and small businesses to create magnetic, focused brand identities. So that I'll get more into the depths of that, but that's really the audience that I serve are small to medium size businesses and founders.
Nice. And tell us kind of what inspired you to kind of steer your business and to start to focus on these specific people.
Yeah. So I had a whole career in market research and creative execution prior to starting my company in 2016. And the thing that I noticed was that so many founders today, they still think that their brand is like a logo, or they get confused between brand and product. So a lot of times they'll say, "Oh, I have a kids brand. I'm like a kids wear brand," or "I have a beauty brand." I'm like, "Okay, but your product is not your brand, right?" So part of what I think the problem is that because most founders think that they think that it's either their product or a vibe or a logo. They don't understand that brands are actually built from the inside out. So even though a customer is going to experience it from the outside in, the founder needs to build it from the inside out. So we live in a world that rewards scale, right? So a lot of times what that means is that founders are constantly chasing more. So they convince themselves that, oh, because I've got a logo, so I've got theoretically a brand. The problem must be that I need more marketing or more ads or more content or more products. When the truth of the matter is what they probably need is less, right? They need less. They need focus around less of an offering. So that's what I do. I help them to create focus in a magnetic brand universe that will pull in a very specific audience base. Now, major companies, they know how to do this well, and they do it over decades, right? Nike, Google, Apple, they've been doing this for decades. They understand that their customer base buys emotionally, but it's not something that founders and small businesses understand. So they go out trying to compete in these spaces with these mega corporations, and they get killed. They get outspent every time, every time. So I help them to understand and focus around what is the bigger point of view that really speaks to why do they exist as a brand above and beyond just what they sell, whether it's a product or a service, right? And then how do they attract a specific audience with a mindset as opposed to a demographic? It's a very different way of thinking than what I think traditional marketing tells us. But over the course of 10 years, I've seen this work for hundreds of brands. Like in just my company alone, I've helped to launch and rebuild over 100 brands. But now with my book, my course, and previous courses that I've probably taught closer to hundreds of founders this method. And I've seen the results of what happens when a founder, when a startup thinks this way. They actually end up solving a lot of their problems because they get deeper impact by doing less, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I appreciate you bringing up the big brands, right? Because the intention and mindset is everything. And I think sometimes founders can flail. I think, and I know you probably see this, right? Founders are so focused on like running the business or administrative stuff that like they forget forget like, oh, I've got a brand and I've got a brand within a brand.
Yeah.
And so I appreciate the mindset process of it. I think that's really, really important.
Yeah, I think as a founder myself, I have felt that one viscerally. Like I understand that it's such a different beast than just putting a product together, running a business. Like that's so tactical, and brand is a different beast. It's more emotional, it's more soulful. There's not the same KPIs, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, if you create a strong brand, especially at the beginning, when you might need to pivot your product, you don't have to start all over again. You don't have to start from scratch all over again because theoretically you have built something that's about more than just what your actual offer is. So you create something that has innate emotional pull to it. And that's the thing that people are attracted to. That's why influencers became popular. It's because we were attracted to who they were, what their lifestyle was. There was an aspiration there that we clung to, that we wanted to emulate in our own lives. And it felt so personal. It felt so emotional. So when brands can embody that same kind of energy and spirit to them, they can use that same strategy to attract the tribe of people who think like they do. But they have to do it in a more focused way. And what's interesting is there's so much marketing advice out there that's just like, jump onto this trend, use these trending sounds, use this kind of content. It's so unfortunate because that waters your brand right down. You now are the trend chaser. It's the brand equivalent of like a bandwagon chaser, right? And so nobody knows what your brand is because you're constantly chasing other things.
Yeah. Well, speaking of the big brands, you have been quoted saying Starbucks has nothing on your local cafes. Still warm croissant. Wait. Starbucks has nothing on your local cafes. Warm croissants. You know it. I know it, and they know it. What do you mean by this? When I read that, I was like, yes, she's so right. But what do you mean by that?
Mandy, not entirely sure what the quote was. Yes, Starbucks has nothing on your local cafes, still warm croissants.
Yeah.
So the thought there is that when capitalism is all about scale, right? So a lot of times you'll have corporations, they prioritize for scale. So they take away a lot of the special sauce that comes from small businesses, right? Small to medium-sized businesses, they have that soul baked in, literally baked in sometimes. They're optimizing for experience. They're optimizing for, how do I create a special moment for my customer base? In a lot of ways, that becomes more important to them than just whether there's 20 versions of their restaurant anywhere, right? So the argument that I made in that post was that when we go to these restaurants and bakeries and coffee shops and, even just, I think even small businesses that exist in the digital marketplace, you get that sense of quality. You get that sense of this is special because it doesn't exist everywhere. It's something that just lives here. I'm seeing a resurgence of consumers who want that kind of special customer experience. We don't want more. We actually want less. So if you can do more with less, right? If you can create a special, albeit maybe small, brand universe that promises that to your customer base, you will actually create something that not only to you as the founder is going to be more fun to build, but is going to attract a customer that feels more loyal, more trusting, and more likable to you, right? To you and your brand. So that's the point I was making with that post, is that I'm always going to be the kind of person who fights for those kinds of businesses. I've worked with the corporations, but you're a cog in the wheel there, right? It's a very different way to work. And I don't know, I've always felt more comfortable building with founders who almost always, they have a different objective than just to make money. And personally, I think that's where business needs to go.
Mhm. Yeah, that was my pickup from that post. I was like, she's talking about showing your personality, sharing your passion, illuminating your purpose. That's the sticky stuff. That's what I felt from that. So I love that you elaborated on it. That's great. Great stuff.
What would be the perspective or the goal for a brand who is not wanting to scale? Or maybe they thought they wanted to scale, but now they've heard you talk. They say, well, let me reconsider. What should our perspective be in terms of growth of the company, in terms of being financially like solvent and healthy? What's your perspective on that?
Yeah. And I think so. In my newsletter, I have a Substack newsletter called Yes and I have a special featured section called Stripes. So I talk about the difference between these two types of companies. So you guys are probably familiar with the unicorns, right? The tech companies that were all about scale, and they have been winning the marketplace for forever now, right? But we are in a very different world. We are starting to see a shift away from scale at all costs, right? Scale or fail, as they like to say. And we're starting to see more consumers that are interested in special, in secret society kind of, that one in a million sort of shot, right? Where it's not about this is accessible to everyone, right? And you lose that special sauce the more you scale. So I feature companies in this series that are all about that slow growth. And it doesn't mean you're not growing. You can absolutely grow. It's just a different kind of growth. It's more intentional. It has a different kind of objective behind it. And you're not scaling with the, all costs, basically at all costs, right? You're growing with intention. You're growing in a way that still allows you to maintain some of that special sauce that made you a compelling brand in the first place, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
So I'll give you a perfect example. One of the brands that I just featured is called Fern. Have either of you heard of this brand, Fern? I've become obsessed with them now. They sell perfume. They do seasonal drops. You cannot go on their site. They have a store in London. You can't buy their product at the store. Can you imagine? Can't buy it there. You cannot add to cart on their site. You must join their ledger. And then only once per season do they actually do a drop of these seasonal scents. When they do a drop, they will also release a indie style short film. And the short films don't even show the product. This is the brilliance of this brand. It's like they probably could have had a very traditional route. They could have partnered with a celebrity. They could have done, all these influencer partnerships and gone a very different route. But the reason that people like this, their ledger has got a wait list. Like their wait list has a wait list. This is how popular the brand is because they're growing with intention, right? They're maintaining the part of their brand that not only slows the production, but also makes it exciting to wait because it makes the experience on the consumer side more special because I can't get it right away, right? That's the kinds of brands that I like to work with, the ones that are actually building for long-term sustainable growth. And it takes longer. You're not looking to get the same hit right away. You're not looking for just, those clicks and those engagements and those likes. It's a lot of that is just vanity metrics, right?
Okay.
Long-term scale is about, well, how loyal is this fan base? If something else comes along tomorrow, are they just going to run away? Because then you don't really have a brand. You have a product with a logo.
So
You got me?
So what I'm hearing you say reminds me of Kevin Kelly's 1,000 True Fans.
Oh, you did it, Amani.
so that's what it's reminding me of, which I love and I teach to all my classes, but I also teach to my music artists. So what similarities do you see between the brands you work with and some of the more successful musical artists of our generation?
Oh, musical artists. Okay. So in my book, I think it's like chapter 1, I actually talk about like the art of world building. And I mention Taylor Swift. I know
Yeah.
everybody's probably
Yeah.
a little tired of hearing
Yeah.
about T Swift, especially given all the engagement news right now. But let me tell you what,
Yeah.
she is somebody who has been very smart about building a brand world. So she prioritizes these things that, I'll be honest, a lot of people don't understand. They study them now, but she's been doing them a while before it was popular, right?
Mm-hmm.
When I'm sure plenty of marketing folks said, don't waste your time on putting all these Easter eggs together because it doesn't actually drive profit for you. But she was smart. She knew that this was going to continue to engage people, even when she wasn't putting music out. She would still continue to like get people into her world. That's the name of the game. So here's the problem. We used to live in a world where it was one funnel, one entry point, one access point. That's it, right? That's not how people engage with brands anymore. You don't know where they're coming in, right? You don't know where they're coming in. So you have to create something that is rich and textured and layered and something that's going to allow them to fall down that rabbit hole, right? And regardless of where they're coming in from, there should be a clear point of view to your brand, something that is more than just a vibe, right? The vibe should just match with whatever your point of view is.
Right.
But there should be a point to what you're offering. And you should think of your product or service as just the gift with purchase to that bigger experience. Once you do that, people will buy whatever you come out with because they're dedicated to the brand, not the product. You with me? So this is something that, I mean, back in the day, I used to do market research for like Target and Nike. And let me tell you, these are brands that understand this viscerally, and they spend plenty of cash on exactly this, right? But I wanted to take this information and make it accessible to these small businesses because I knew they were coming up with better products, but they didn't play by the same branding rules. So I thought, okay, how can I take this information and make it accessible to more people?
Yeah. So one more question before we go back to you, Mandy. We're gonna play a little tennis. So why? Because it seems like you do. Why does it resonate with you when I reference Kevin Kelly's 1,000 True Fans? Why did that resonate with you?
Oh, Kevin Kelly. Kevin Kelly is just such an interesting figure in general to me. Like he's not somebody that everybody knows, right? Everybody knows Steve Jobs. Nobody knows Kevin Kelly unless you're like in his zone already. He's a fascinating person because he is somebody who I think is the embodiment of this. He doesn't aim for fame. That's not what's important to him. He aims for this very special, purpose-driven kind of work. Like I read an interview with him that says, you know, how does he decide what kinds of projects to do? And he just says, I go with what interests me. Like I go where the interest goes. And I'm like, it's like such simple advice, but it's brilliant because he's not being driven by scale. He's driven by creating something that matters. That will create, even if it's just a special moment. It's almost like he finds the joy and the passion in the work. You know what I mean? And I think that's what I want to embody in brand building and world building is if you can find the passion and the joy in the build, you'll actually have the benefit and the impact long term. But not only that, it will be, as a founder, it will be so much more interesting, so much more intriguing and fun to build than it is if you try to do it the other way.
Yeah. Go ahead, Mandy.
Well, I'm marinating on what you're saying because it is so simple, but it's so much more sustainable when you're actually building. Speaking of brands, what lies have we been fed about building a brand?
Great question.
Wow, really been doing the deep dig, haven't you?
That's what we do.
Yeah, went straight to my Instagram, didn't you? Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, some of them I've already talked about. Your logo, your vibe, that's not your brand, right? That's your branding. Your branding is your visual identity. That's your logo, your colors, your, all the things. But if you don't have a point of view, a center of gravity that's driving those decisions, then you're often basing that around subjectivity or what you think is modern, what you think that the customer base is after. Again, it doesn't create that long-term sustainability for your brand. So that's one of those lies. Other ones I think are, just scale, that it's scale or fail. I've been given this advice early on in my business too. And if I had followed that advice, I'd have a very different business and I probably would have closed it by now, because I've certainly, as a founder, dealt with burnout myself. That's why I'm able to speak to founders in a very empathetic way, is because I'm a founder. I understand what it is to get up every day and work hard at this thing. But a lot of times our focus seems to be driven by the business and the product.
Right.
And we almost forget innately that we're trying to build a brand. We're trying to build something that is going to, reach through that screen and pull the heartstrings of our consumer base. So a lot of times you need somebody who's that outsider who can help you refocus your attention, because especially if you have a small team or you're a solopreneur, you don't have the luxury of saying 10 things at once. You don't have the luxury of trying to appeal to 5 different, audience segments. You don't have the luxury of doing that, because if you try to do that, you're going to try and create dynamic messaging for 5 different audience segments. Are you joking? No way. It's not going to happen. Like you can't, right? So instead, it's better to focus, do one thing really well, figure out how to make that thing so magnetic, so textured, so layered, so rich, become known for that thing. And I don't mean a product. I mean some other big idea that allows you to, this is our North Star. So then every product or service or offering needs to show up as that, right?
Yeah.
But then that gives you a lot more space to build from. So, I think it's things like that I see these, they're very convenient, carousels and TikToks, because they catch your attention and they usually lead you down some kind of funnel into some kind of consulting or course or whatever. I get it. I understand. We want it to be simple, but I will tell you right now, the biggest myth is that brand building is simple.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to switch gears here for a second, because you've just brought something up to me that I coach sales teams, and it's a lot of corporations, but inevitably the salesperson or the sales leader or the chief sales officer will like tug me aside or talk to me on a break, and they'll ask me this same question. And I'm guessing you and I probably have the same answer, but I want to hear it in your voice. Sometimes they'll say, okay, well, I work for this huge company and they have their brand, so why should I focus on building my own personal brand? And I have strong feelings about that, but I'm curious what your opinion is to the W-2 employees out there that say, oh, I'll just hide under the hotel brand, or I'll hide under the Starbucks brand, and why it's so important they build their personal brand.
Right. Such a good question. So I have been out of the W-2 game for 10 years now, but I will tell you, I've come across many a colleague who is struggling with exactly this. And especially right now, right? Market's a little shifty, a lot of layoffs. People are trying to make sense of, especially if you are the kind of person who's been paid for your thinking. People are trying to make sense of, how do I now all of a sudden, like, I have to build a reputation for myself. My reputation has been this company. I've been, Robyn from Google or Robyn from Starbucks, right? You've attached your identity to who you've worked with. The tricky part about that is that what happens when you're no longer there? Who are you outside of that company, right? Who are you outside of that work? So when we're talking personal brand through this context, through building a career, your brand, you might associate it as your LinkedIn profile. And yes, your messaging matters, that headline matters, what you talk about in your content matters, but it's not going to be as simple as just always talking about what you do, because there's thousands of other people who also do what you do. What's the unique spin you have on it? What's the unique point of view you have on it, right? So I think a lot of times people talk about brand story, I talk about brand point of view because we need to build from a place that meets where we're currently at in the market, which is things changing quickly all the time. If you have a point of view, that's focus. If you have a story, it feels a little bit too static. It's too linear. It doesn't give you as much room to be malleable, to be fluid, to sort of change things as you need to. With a point of view, I believe you have the right amount of focus, but still leave room for that kind of co-creation, right? That kind of shifting and really moving at the speed of culture.
I like this idea of bolstering your point of view because it all ties into thought leadership and value and reputation. And I just was at a conference a couple weeks ago where a hotel salesperson came up to me to say he switched jobs from one hotel to the other. And one of his greatest advantages was that he knew this one account really, really well. And it was an account that that particular hotel wanted to know more about. But the reason that he knew the account or that the hotel knew he knew who the account was from his LinkedIn messages and his signature lines and all of these personal branding. One might say personal branding. I just call it just your value proposition. But like, it helped him get a job, he said, that earned him almost double what he was, getting paid at the other place. And it was the exact same job, but the other company saw more value in it. So as you're saying this, I guess my takeaway or my pickup on this is like, don't wait till you get laid off to start building your brand. Like, don't wait till you want a promotion to start building your brand. Like, start now and like do the Taylor Swift method and like feed the beast along the way. Take the time.
Yeah. I mean, listen, not everybody has to come up with a Substack or a podcast or a book or whatever. Like, I think sometimes we've all
only nerds like us have done that.
Like, listen, like us, we do that because we find something we're passionate about. And I think when you can find the point of view that you're passionate about and the point of view, I talk about this in my my course. I just created a course, something accessible, something that even a W-2 employee could go through and build a personal brand around it. I built it for founders and small business owners because frankly, I would have people who are like, I believe in what you're doing and I really want to work with you. I just can't afford to work with you, right? Mm-hmm. So I work with people one-on-one, but it's a very different price point. This course made it affordable. I use the same frameworks that I use with my one-on-one clients. It's less access to me, I guess, right? So what I talk about is how do you create a distinct point of view? And there's different ways to do it, but one of the key things that you need is you need to decide what's the monster. What's the monster you're asking people to fight, right? And a monster is not going to be a person, right? It's going to be a bigger idea, a bigger thing, a bigger challenge that you want to take on, right? But if you're constantly just talking about what you do as opposed to why you do it, like why is that actually important to you? You're constantly just going to be coming back to pain point solution. But again, that doesn't help you stand out at all because everybody in your field is dealing with that same pain point solution. So if you're projecting a different point of view, you're putting your own spin on it. You're saying, here's what I'm seeing in the industry and here's what's wrong with it. And here's what I think the real solution is. Here's what I believe as a person. You're not only allowing people to see that you're passionate enough in this topic, that you're not just pain point solution, that you've thought enough about it, hence the name thought leader, but that you have a different perspective on it than just here's how I can solve your problem. Does that make sense? So,
totally.
So it also gives you a lot more space to explore and create content and to talk about it and to use case studies. And you with me? Like it just gives you more room to showcase that point of view than it would if you were just talking pain point solution all the time.
I appreciate your confirming questions. Robyn, Imani, have you noticed? She's like, are you with me? Does that make sense? How does that happen? I love a confirming question. That's good. Robyn's good.
Yes.
It's good.
It's the instructor in me. I'm like, am I getting through? Like the communication. Yeah.
I can relate. I want to read a quote and see what your response is. The quote says, what you do is not who you are.
This is Yeah, this is such a good one. I think it relates to Mandy's
Yeah.
point about uh, who we are. It's so if you're thinking about it in terms of what you do, you're really shortchanging yourself, right? Because what you do could change. Guys, what you do could change a lot. I mean, these days, how many people are really sticking with one job anymore?
Yeah.
I
Very
think
rare.
this is only going to become more important. Now, for me, I had 20 careers before I ever started my own business. So for me, reinvention was natural, right? This is just the weird thing that I think is what called me to be a brand strategist in the first place. Is I was excited by the idea of reinvention. I still am. But that's not the usual scenario for most people. Most people are very uncomfortable with change. And so when you're changing careers, when you're changing career paths, that can be a really tricky place to navigate. But if you create a point of view for your brand, what you do can shift and your point of view could still be relevant. Just like with a brand, what you offer can change, but your point of view can still be relevant, right? That's the strength of a strong point of view. Like that's the real impact if you gain a strong point of view. It can change, it has that fluidity to it. But if you're constantly anchoring your brand in just what you do, forget about it. Then you're basing your entire reputation on what you do instead of who you serve and what's the bigger idea and what's the bigger point of view. Then every time you change what you do, you got to rebrand. It's not, it doesn't create that sustainability. So
Great. Yeah.
yeah.
Great point.
Oh, sorry, you go, Money. I just thought of a side note. I'll ask next. Yeah.
You sure are you gonna forget or are you gonna remember? Go for it.
I'm gonna forget. I'm gonna
Go
forget.
for it.
And normally I would hold, but you just said something that I hadn't thought about. So what happens when your point of view changes? And you want to move that boulder? That happens all the time, right? We grow up, we grow out, our business conditions change. So what's your recommendation on when your point of view changes and you've worked so hard on demonstrating this point of view? How do you gracefully move that boulder in a way that resonates with people?
Yeah. I mean, the first thing I would say is, did it change? Or is there just nuance involved now? So like, I don't know if you're familiar with the cost of real beauty. Dove has run this campaign for, I don't know, 20 years, something like that. I wrote about it in my book. And when they started, the cost of real beauty was about the ads we were seeing in magazines, right? Very different place than where we are now. A more up-to-date version of the cost of real beauty was, what are young people seeing on social media that is gearing them towards believing what beauty looks like? Mm-hmm. So it's same point of view. It just took a different shape, took a different format. They didn't have to change the point of view. They simply had to update it, right? They simply had to update it for a 2025 audience. Okay.
Evolution.
Yeah, they had to evolve. Exactly. So this is why I say there's strength in having a universal point of view, using some kind of universal conflict at the center of it. That's probably not going to change anytime soon, even if it evolves, right? So that's the first place I would start is your point of view, is it really not relevant anymore? Okay. Then we move to point B, which is, are you still serving the same audience? What are they dealing with now? How has the culture shifted? How has the conversations shifted? What do we think is still going to be a problem, not just in a year or two, but 3, 5, 10 years down the road? What do we see as being the real challenge that they're having today? And how can we pull from our past to see what's the longevity of that, right? So we really try to maintain some of the original spirit of the the brand, that the reputation you've already built, especially if you are a corporation. Like, you don't it can be very hard to completely remake your brand, right? As a founder or a small business, yeah, I mean, the benefit that you have is, maybe not as many eyeballs, not as much criticism. So in many ways, like, you can go out and test things out still in a way that, you know, a very well-known brand can't do. So I would say if you're going to be reinventing, you want to see how much of the old brand is still maintaining and what needs to be updated. And then and only then, if you decide you need a complete reshape of your point of view, then I would make sure that you're pairing that with some kind of reason for that update. So like, in what's the business context? Are you offering something new? Are you partnering with somebody different? Like what's the point?
Yeah.
Just reinvent it. What's the long-term plan too? Because really, when you're building a brand strategy, you want your brand strategy and your business strategy to live in the same world, right? I think too often, this is another myth buster. Too often we put brand under marketing. It's not where it lives. Brand is anything that can impact your reputation, how you are perceived, both internally and externally. There's going to be very few decisions that you make as a business that couldn't impact brand, right? Marketing is just one lane. So if you're only thinking in terms of marketing with your brand, you are really getting yourself into trouble. Like that's where that's where you have the talks here, walks in a different place. Like you need to align those things.
Now, how did releasing your book help your brand?
Oh, good question. I was sort of an accidental author. I was not intending that book to be a book. When I first started writing it, it was meant to just be an ebook, like just something simple I could put together. I had never done an ebook before. I was like, let me just start writing it. And then I wrote over 100 pages. I'm like, this is not an ebook. This is a book. How that helped my brand is it's my point of view, right? It's me putting myself onto a page and saying, this is what's most important, right? When you're being told this thing over here, this is what you really need to focus on. So this was me really signaling my thought leadership. And I think the hardest part of putting a book together like that, honestly, it was not the actual process of writing, hard as that was. The hardest part was having the bravery to put something so finite out. People don't talk about that. It's hard to put something out with your thinking on it that's so final.
Yeah, we can relate.
It's hard to do that. Like the stress of doing that, knowing that it's out there now, and like, what if things change? I put it out at a time when things, it just came out in January. Things are changing so fast. So what I tried to do is focus the content around things that had been true for a while and were still true. I didn't focus on specific tactics. I focused on the things that I felt really drove that long-term sustainable brand growth. And that's really where I honed it in. It's not a to-do, it's not meant to just go in there and check. It's meant to be, here's how you create the layers of a brand universe. And it's not just as simple as like, okay, now we're going to do this, and now we're going to open up this platform, and now you're going to have a podcast. Those are platforms. There's no one magic platform. You have to first decide, what is it I'm trying to say? Who is it I'm trying to attract? What's that mindset, right? What's that bigger idea behind my brand? And then you can choose the platforms and the content and the trends and the offers that best align with that. But the problem is most people don't start there. So they waste a lot of time trying to figure that out on their own. And if I can have that information and give it to them in a book, I mean, honestly, many of them might not get it the first time or the fifth time, but they're going to start from a much stronger place than they would have without that book. Does that make sense? And I can feel good about that. Honestly, like I can feel good about this allows me the opportunity to impact way more people, to get them to a much stronger starting place. It feels good.
All right. We have come to the time in the show where we flip the script and let you ask both myself and Mandy a question. So who do you want to ask the question to first, and what is said question?
Okay. Well, you guys are obviously business owners. You are brand builders, and that you have this podcast. So let me ask you separately first, what do you feel like your brand is about?
Okay, I'll take that one this time, Mandy, because I always put you
Okay.
first, right?
Yeah,
Isn't
you
that
got
right?
this.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I think my brand is really about helping musicians close the knowledge gap so they can make more money.
Nice. Love that.
Yeah, Mandy?
Boom. Amani, you've been working on that.
I've been
That's
working
good.
on that, yes.
Your brand builders.
Yes,
Shout out to brand builders. It's
yes,
working
yes.
for you. It's working for you. I feel like my brand, well, I have a couple different businesses. So we'll just take my sales, coaching, and speaking business. I bring joy and humor to drive results in your business and help sales teams and salespeople be more creative in driving results.
Nice. Love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
I also have a podcast. It's on hiatus right now, but I've always loved this question because I interview other business owners too. If you had one piece of advice for a founder, like a learning that you had, the podcast is called Brand F Ups, but it's a play on
Fun.
words.
Yeah.
It's a play on words because it's fail up, right?
Oh, yeah, I like that.
The idea was that we were shining a light on what it actually takes to build a brand and a business. Because again, I think in this day and age, people like to make it seem like it's very easy, like, oh, just these 3 steps. And we all know that that is not the case. I'm 10 years in, I'm still trying to figure it out. So let me ask you, if you had one fail up moment that you could share that was transformational for your business or your brand, what would it be?
Fail up. You want to go first, Mandy? What do you want?
I'm
Are you
gonna
still
think
thinking?
I'm thinking about it, but when she says fail up, it reminds me of our friend Erin Deal, who
Yes.
talks about failing forward. And
Mhm.
she, with her employees, has a fail fiesta once a month.
Yes.
And at their meetings, they only talk about what they failed at that month. Yeah, so I like the fail up, fail forward. I love that. But I've got to think about it. I've had a
Yeah.
lot of failures, but
While
Yeah.
you're thinking about it, I'll bring up this little anecdote.
Yeah.
Sarah Blakely, the
Ah.
founder of
Yeah.
of Spanx. I love this. It's such a like little anecdote thing, but she talks about how when she was younger, that her dad used to ask her and I think her siblings, what's one way that you failed today? And I'm
Mhm.
like, oh my God, she was an entrepreneur in the making with
Yes,
that
she was.
question. Are you
Yeah.
kidding me? Because so many of us think of failure as so bad, wrong, something to be ashamed of. Like that's deep-seated stuff in there, right? And we've got this perfection perspective, and it's just not true. And I wonder how many people who start and fail at businesses, it's just because they weren't prepared for the fact that failure is just part of running a business.
Yeah.
It is just
Yeah.
part of what you do. And if you can normalize that and find that camaraderie by seeking out people who have failed and being honest about where you're at, I think a lot more of them would be able to push through.
It's a good
Yeah.
dinner.
Yeah.
It's a good dinner question for sure.
Yeah.
Dinner table question. Yeah.
While Mandy is thinking, I have one quick one that's real simple. It's from the phrase where they say, "Don't build your house on rented real estate." And so the failure would be, don't spend so much time trying to grow your audience on all these platforms like an Instagram, LinkedIn, but grow your email list instead, where you own your own media or whatever. And so that's probably the one that comes to mind very quickly for me.
Yes, that's such a good one.
I thought of my failure. I thought of
Go
it.
ahead.
I mean, I've had many. I think you can't be a founder unless you have many failures, because we learn from all of them, right? But something that happened early on, I've been running my sales coaching business now for about 19 years. And early on, I knew I was a sales coach. I'm a salesperson through and through. I love sales, disarm the stigma of sales, just sell, but like more like listen and educate, right?
Yeah.
But early on, people were coming to me when they wanted business coaching. Like how to set up my business, what is my mission statement, that kind of thing. And can I do that? Yes. But that I took a lot of that business early on, as we do when we first started businesses. You just take all the business. But I wasn't as passionate about that, and I wasn't as successful with that because I honed in on sales coaching. That's what I do. So I think just transitioning from being all things to all people, from being a business coach with a sales focus to just really saying I'm a sales coach. And if anybody asks me about business coaching, I'm like, I've been there. I can share my ideas, but like I actually know business coaches that I can refer you to. And once you get to that point and you want to add a revenue stream or you want to grow the business, come back to me for sales coaching.
I love that one, Mandy, because you're highlighting something that I talk about in my course, which is sacrificing. Sacrificing to overcommit is something that will allow you to build a more focused reputation and thus a more focused brand. But it's really hard to sacrifice. It's really hard,
especially in the beginning. Especially in the beginning.
And yeah, like listen, there will be a period of trial and error, you know, and a bit of like, yeah, you're doing some market research. Maybe you're putting a few things out, but the second that one starts to catch fire, you have got to focus.
Yeah. Now,
otherwise, I mean, you leave yourself open for other people to interpret.
Right.
And then you don't have control over it.
Right.
Yeah. Now, if we were to go talk to Robyn, as Robyn's about to graduate from UC San Diego.
Oh no, I've already graduated.
I know, but I know you've already graduated, but we're going to go back to young
way back
Robyn.
machine. Way back machine.
Yeah.
Time machine. We're here now.
You're the first person that's been like, no, I already graduated.
She's like, I did that. I don't want to do that again.
Yeah, exactly. She's like, oh no. And we're going to give your younger self about to graduate and enter the working world advice based on everything you know now. What advice would you give your younger self?
Oh man. I think I would say that it's okay to not have it all figured out. I took a very different path. Like I said, I had 20 careers before I finally landed on this is my thing. So I was something of a late bloomer. And that was hard because so many of my friends were singular focus. Like they hopped into their career and that was it. And it just took me a lot longer to find it. And I think that that's why founders are my people, because I feel like a lot of them, they seem to have that same story. Like it takes us a while to really find our thing. And we dabble a lot. We tend to be more multi-passionate. So I think the advice I would give to young 22-year-old Robyn is you do not need it to be all figured out right now. In many ways, you're going to pick up skills and experience from each one of these different lives that are going to contribute to the ultimate thing that you do. And they will be important, even though you're not on that path yet.
Yeah. Great advice. I also wanted to ask you, we're kind of a little on time, but what's been the benefit of you opening up and starting a Substack and using that? Because you mentioned that a couple of times.
Yeah, Substack is, I think, the place to grow and grow sustainably now. I just don't see the same kind of brand growth or attention. It's not even attention, because you can find plenty of attention. You can go viral in these other places. That's true. Substack might take you longer, but to your point, Amani, you own email, right? You don't own eyeballs. You're at the mercy of the algorithm there.
Yeah.
With Substack, it's kind of like an email platform meets a social platform. So there's ways to just post your thoughts. You do that through notes and to engage with people, but your subscribers are email. So, and I just feel like it's unique in that people go there to get lost and to go down the rabbit hole with you. It's been built in a very different way than, let's say, an Instagram or a TikTok, where it's really just about the endless scroll and people want the information quickly. If you're not building for that, if you're the kind that's like, I want a slow burn, I want to marinate, I want people to like come in and be welcomed in and sit and drink a glass of wine. And, it's like the digital version of window shopping, but you're meant to go in and try on and read a few articles. And like, you're meant to really discover people there. It's very different from any other platform I see right now. So in my professional opinion.
Yeah.
Substack is the place to build a brand on right now if that's what you're after.
Interesting. Over to you, Mandy, to close us out.
Well, you have given us your time today, which is valuable, and endless nuggets of information. I can't wait to re-listen to this and take a bunch of notes too. How can we support you? How can we give back to you and lift you up as you continue, helping us all be better brand masters, so to speak?
I love that. I think for me, it's about getting both my book and my course out there to the people who need it. And honestly, like I launched this first cohort with just 8 founders, and I love it. I love each one of those 8 founders. Like it means so much to me, this first this first group who just took a chance on this. But like now I'm learning the things that I need to know in order to make the next cohort that much better. So I'm launching the next cohort in November, and this will be the most important part of building a brand is going to be your point of view, focusing and honing in on what your point of view is. I will go through this with each one of the students via this platform, and they'll go through the exercises and they'll get feedback from me. So the course is the thing that I'm trying to get out there. And then my book too. My book is called Build Your Brand Universe. So I'll send the course, or I think we've got it in a link, but I'll add it to the show notes too. And then my book is called Build Your Brand Universe. It's same information. I think one is just a much more DIY route, right? If you want the DIY route, get the book. If you want a little bit more accountability, a little bit more support, because Lord knows it's hard to be a solopreneur. It's hard to be building alone. You never know, like, is this right? Is it making sense? Like you want that bit of feedback. You want that sounding board. The course is going to be for you.
Perfect.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, thanks for giving us some great and amazing brand advice. Like Mandy said, we have to rewatch it because, you could kind of tell between the 3 of us, we were kind of all on the same page because you were saying things that were resonating with all of us. We've been there. So this was very relevant. So we appreciate your expertise and just thanks for sharing.
Of course. Thanks you guys so much for having me. I love geeking out on this stuff. Like I will talk shop on brand anytime. So this was so much fun.
Yes, likewise. We're going to put you back in the green room, give you a round of applause. Thank you, Robyn Young, for being with us. Round of applause there. Yes.
Thank you, Robyn.
Awesome. All right, Mandy, another amazing show. Great to be back. Who do we have to look forward to next week?
We have Dr. Mina Amani. We have Dr. Mina. We've got a little schedule shift for next week, I think, right? It's a schedule shift. So the show will be at a little bit of a different time next week. But even if it's not live, if you're not watching live, you can watch and listen at your leisure on all the platforms. So yeah, we have Dr. Mina. Very excited.
Yes, Dr. Mina is coming, going to talk to us about her business as well as taking care of our health, specifically our skin. So that'll be a little bit different for us. That'll be good. So next week will be 4:30 p.m. live start Eastern, 1:30 p.m. on the West Coast. We have to let Dr. Mina close up her shop, and I'm going to give her a hard time about this too. And thank you very much to Robyn Young, our guest today. If you're watching, please subscribe to us on YouTube. Also rate and review the podcast on any platform that you're watching it on. Tell a friend. And with that, we will see everyone next week. Bye, everyone.
Bye.